Taking out the trash. Life lessons part 2. I want to propose the idea that the America's response to Syria and Egypt are as they are because of because of their same attitudes in response to the Miley Cyrus um, performance. Miley Cyrus's performance did not, of course, directly affect what's going on in Syria and Egypt, but it is an indirect effect. Not her performance per se, but because the mindset of America has allowed a performance like this and has allowed a person like this to be the role model for their children. That indirectly has an effect on our attitude toward what's going on in the Middle East and toward crime and inhumane treatment anywhere in the world. How can this be? Why? It's all about attitudes and behaviors. It's all about any battle for good or evil, any battle for control of our decisions and our choices. It starts in the mind. So let me see if I can kind of explain what I mean, because I know it sounds kind of confusing right now. Americans, I believe, have become ignorant and apathetic, and they even support what's going on in the Middle East. Some kind of feed off all of the stories of abuse and mistreatment of other people. And I'm not talking about people who speak out against sin and wrongdoing. Okay? That's not abuse and it's not judgmental, so don't anybody go running off on that tangent. But number one, let's get back to this. Number one, Americans on a whole are ignorant. We are just a flat out ignorant people. They are for the most part products of the public school system. And I know that people are already getting uneasy and uncomfortable when we say that, but it's the truth. I spent the last 3 years of my high school years in public school. So I graduated from public school. We'll go ahead and preface the rest of this by saying I despised the public school. I hated being there, with the exception of 2 classes. But this is not so much about my experience, even though I use it to prove a point, as it is the facts about what's going on in the public school system. No matter how many times parents turn their head and ignore it, it's still going on. You can't change it. Can't pull your kids out and stop them from being involved in it, though. But anyway, another story. My high school years, I remembered the prevalence of the atmosphere was not conducive to learning. It was more about entertainment and immorality and popularity. And popularity, for the most part, was based on who your family was, or if you were fashionably in style. That was a big deal. I remember the celebrity worship. That was in the 80s, so it was, actors like and actresses like Johnny Depp and Molly Ringwald, and the music, of course, New Kids on the Block, New Edition, Madonna, Prince, Michael Jackson, Bon Jovi, and that the little dude that sang Born in the USA, I remember that one, Bruce Springsteen. All those guys, they worshipped them. The teenage girls worshipped them, and the boys did too to some degree. They can say they didn't, but they did. And I remember a lot of these same kids, the same as it is today, they would go to church, they would sing about Jesus and how much they loved Jesus, and then we'd get together on the weekends and we'd pass out the Good News, God Loves You Bibles. I don't know how many of y'all remember those. If you're a child of the 80s, you probably remember your church youth group getting together and going to pass out those Bibles and telling people how much God loved them. Then these same kids would go to Beastie Boy concerts, a group that was so immoral they were banned from some venues. These kids would get together and we would start Bible studies at youth Bible studies at church, outside the regular church time, because we wanted to grow closer to Christ. We wanted to know more about Him. Then they would get in the car and go down the road listening to trashy music from, Boy George and the Culture Club or Georgia Satellite Band. The same kids were the ones getting drunk after football games. And even if they weren't getting drunk, say they were the designated drivers, they were still hanging out in an immoral party scene. They were the same kids who would go to a Hank Williams concert, Hank Williams Jr. Hank Williams was dead. I hope he wasn't at a concert. But a Hank Williams Jr. concert, where they're throwing out beer to the audience. And he too got so out of hand that they had to ban some of the concerts. And this kind of hypocrisy was prevalent. And if you were one of the ones who spoke out against the hypocrisy or disagreed with this kind of behavior, you were labeled a fanatic or weird. And you didn't have too many friends.